Consistency is one of the most powerful forces in human achievement, and yet it is one of the most misunderstood. People often think consistency is about perfection, about doing things flawlessly every single day, or about never missing a step. But science tells a different story. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about small, repeated actions over time that compound into extraordinary results. The human brain, when understood correctly, is wired to respond to patterns. It thrives on repetition, it adapts to habits, and it shapes behavior through reinforcement. This is why even small, consistent actions repeated day after day create changes that can feel almost miraculous when observed over months or years. The psychology of consistency is rooted in the brain's reward systems. Every time you complete a small action consistently, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter that signals achievement and pleasure. But here's the catch: the reward is not always immediate. The key to consistency is building systems and routines that allow the brain to experience micro-rewards even when the larger outcome is distant. For example, writing 200 words a day may feel insignificant in the moment, but over a year, those small increments result in a finished book. Consistency turns invisible effort into visible results, and science explains exactly how this happens. Neurologically, the process begins in the basal ganglia, the part of the brain responsible for forming habits. When you repeat an action consistently, the brain moves that behavior from conscious decision to automatic execution. This is why habits feel effortless over time. The act of consistently showing up rewires the brain. It strengthens neural pathways that support discipline, focus, and resilience. Over time, what was once difficult becomes second nature. And here lies one of the most motivating truths about human behavior. You do not need to rely solely on willpower. Willpower is finite. Habits reinforced consistently are infinite in their power. Consistency is also deeply tied to identity. Research shows that people are far more likely to maintain behaviors that align with their self-image. This means the most effective path to consistency is not merely focusing on what you want to do, but on who you want to become. If you see yourself as a writer, a person who prioritizes health, or someone who consistently grows, your actions naturally follow this identity. It is a feedback loop. Consistent action strengthens identity, and identity strengthens consistent action. The secret lies not in motivation alone, which waxes and wanes, but in creating a self-concept that supports the behaviors you want to sustain. Yet consistency is not just a mental or neurological phenomenon. It's also a physical one. Our bodies thrive on routine. The circadian rhythm, the sleep-wake cycle, and even digestive processes respond to regularity. When you maintain consistent habits in daily life, such as waking at the same time, exercising regularly, or following a routine meal schedule, your body becomes aligned with your goals. Energy levels stabilize, focus improves, and the friction of decision decreases. This synergy between mind and body creates an ecosystem in which consistency flourishes naturally. Motivation alone is rarely enough to maintain consistency. Science shows that external motivation spikes but quickly fades. Internal systems, habits, and environmental cues are what sustain long-term behavior. This is why designing your environment to support consistency is critical. Remove friction that leads to avoidance. Create cues that trigger positive actions, and align your surroundings with the behavior you want to sustain. Want to read daily? Keep a book by your bed or on your desk. Want to exercise consistently? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. The environment doesn't just support consistency, it automates it. Consistency is a science, but it is also an art. It requires patience, self-compassion, and strategic planning. You will falter, and science tells us this is natural. Neuroplasticity allows your brain to rewire, but it is not instantaneous. Each missed day is not failure, it is data. Each inconsistency provides insight into where systems are weak, where friction exists, and where your approach can be refined. In fact, long-term consistency often emerges not from flawless execution, but from learning to return after lapses. Resilience and consistency is more valuable than perfection. The emotional component of consistency is equally important. Humans are wired to seek immediate gratification, yet the most impactful results require delayed rewards. Emotional regulation, therefore, is crucial. Training yourself to tolerate discomfort, boredom, or monotony is part of the science of consistency. Meditation research, for example, shows that the ability to remain present and disciplined during practice strengthens executive function and self-control, which directly supports consistent behavior in other areas of life. Emotional mastery fuels the mechanics of repeated action. In the realm of achievement, consistency trumps raw talent in most cases. Studies across domains from sports to business to creative arts show that the individuals who outlast competitors are rarely those with the highest initial talent, but those who commit to consistent practice. The compounding effect of repeated intentional action is staggering. Writing 1 page per day results in hundreds of pages over a year. Exercising 3 times per week consistently builds strength, endurance, and health over time. Learning 15 minutes a day accumulates knowledge that far surpasses sporadic bursts of effort. This is the essence of the science of consistency. Repetition transforms potential into results. Consistency also strengthens accountability. When your actions are consistent, they create patterns visible to yourself and others. This visibility reinforces a sense of responsibility. Journaling, tracking progress, and publicly committing to goals amplify consistency by engaging your social and cognitive systems. Accountability does not guarantee success alone, but it significantly increases the likelihood of sustained effort. It is a multiplier. The act of being observed by yourself or by others magnifies the impact of repeated behavior. Perhaps the most motivational truth about consistency is that it democratizes achievement. Extraordinary results are not reserved for geniuses or prodigies. They are accessible to anyone willing to embrace the science of small, repeated actions. Each person has 24 hours. Each day provides an opportunity to take consistent steps toward mastery. The key is not intensity, but regularity. One small, purposeful action per day compounds into greatness over months and years. And this knowledge alone can transform your mindset from overwhelmed to empowered, from anxious to intentional. The science of consistency is also deeply intertwined with habit stacking and cue-based systems. Behavioral psychologists suggest anchoring new behaviors to existing routines, creating what is called habit chaining. By attaching a new desired action to an already established habit, the brain forms associations that increase the likelihood of adherence. For instance, meditating immediately after brushing your teeth or journaling after your morning coffee uses neural pathways that already exist, reducing friction and increasing consistency. Over time, these habit chains create an ecosystem of behaviors that reinforce each other in exponential ways. Consistency is not rigid, it is adaptive. While structure is critical, flexibility ensures sustainability. Life is unpredictable and rigid systems often fail under stress. Science shows that high performers maintain consistency by adjusting their routines when necessary, not by abandoning them. This balance of structure and flexibility allows for resilience in the face of disruption. True consistency is measured not by never missing a step, but by the ability to return to the system after interruption, stronger and wiser than before. Practical strategies are essential for transforming knowledge of consistency into real results. One of the most effective methods is microconsistency, which involves breaking down large, intimidating goals into the smallest possible actionable steps. The science behind this lies in the brain's preference for achievable tasks. Completing small, repeatable actions triggers dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and making it more likely to be repeated. For example, instead of committing to an hour of exercise daily, start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes may seem trivial, but it signals to your brain that the system is active, and over time, This small commitment expands naturally, momentum grows exponentially, and the brain begins to crave these consistent behaviors. Another scientifically backed principle is tracking progress. Studies in behavioral psychology consistently show that when progress is tracked and made visible, individuals are more likely to continue their behaviors. This is due to the brain's response to measurable feedback. Seeing that small, consistent actions accumulate into tangible results reinforces habit formation. Journaling, checklists, apps, or even marking an X on a calendar can serve as visual affirmations of consistency. Each check mark is not just a symbol of completion. It is a micro-reward that strengthens motivation and reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. Consistency also thrives on environmental design. Neuroscience demonstrates that reducing friction for desired behaviors and increasing friction for undesired behaviors significantly impacts outcomes. Want to drink more water? Place bottles within reach throughout your environment. Want to read more? Keep books in your line of sight. Conversely, remove distractions that compete for your attention. Turn off notifications, hide your phone, or rearrange your workspace to make undesired habits less convenient. By shaping your environment, you allow the brain to automate the behaviors you want, reducing reliance on willpower, which is a limited resource. The emotional component of consistency cannot be overlooked. Many people struggle to maintain consistent actions due to fluctuations in mood, energy, or self-confidence. Here, self-compassion becomes a critical tool. Research in positive psychology highlights that individuals who approach setbacks with kindness toward themselves are more likely to return to consistent behavior than those who react with self-criticism. Missing a day does not erase months of progress. It provides an opportunity to learn and adjust. Consistency is about longevity, not short-term perfection, and maintaining a compassionate mindset ensures resilience through inevitable challenges. Time management is another cornerstone of consistent achievement. Science shows that our brain responds to structured routines more effectively than to sporadic bursts of effort. Allocating fixed time slots for key behaviors, even if brief, allows consistency to become embedded in the nervous system. This aligns with the concept of temporal consistency, which leverages predictable patterns to reinforce habitual behavior. A writer who writes at the same hour each morning, or an athlete who trains at the same time daily benefits from reduced cognitive load and enhanced habit formation. The brain learns over time that these behaviors are non-negotiable parts of the day, reducing resistance and increasing adherence. Consistency is also closely linked to accountability systems. Social psychology research indicates that public commitment and social support significantly enhance the likelihood of maintaining behaviors. Sharing your goals with a friend, joining a community with similar ambitions, or using social media to track progress increases external pressure and internal motivation. Knowing that others are aware of your commitment adds weight to your actions and engages social reward circuits in the brain, reinforcing the behavior. Accountability transforms isolated effort into a shared motivating experience, amplifying results. One of the most fascinating aspects of the science of consistency is its relationship with compound growth. Just as in finance, small actions repeated over time create exponential results. Reading 10 pages daily may seem inconsequential, but over a year it accumulates into thousands of pages of knowledge. Practicing a skill 15 minutes per day compounds into mastery over months. The brain thrives on these incremental improvements because repetition strengthens neural pathways, solidifying skills and behaviors. This is why consistency often outperforms short-term bursts of effort. It leverages the exponential power of cumulative action, turning ordinary habits into extraordinary results. Motivation alone is insufficient for sustaining consistency, yet it remains an important spark. Intrinsic motivation driven by curiosity, passion, or personal purpose creates emotional energy that fuels engagement. When combined with structured routines and supportive environments, intrinsic motivation enhances adherence and reinforces identity. Extrinsic motivation, such as rewards, recognition, or accountability, can also accelerate habit formation, but long-term consistency relies on internal alignment, the belief that the action matters and aligns with your self-concept. Motivation without structure fades. Structure without motivation feels robotic. The synthesis of both, supported by science, produces enduring consistency. The neuroscience of consistency also reveals why keystone habits are so powerful. Keystone habits are single behaviors that trigger a cascade of positive changes across multiple areas of life. For example, regular exercise often improves diet, sleep, energy, and mental clarity. Meditation enhances focus, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. By identifying and consistently practicing keystone habits, you leverage the brain's interconnected networks to amplify outcomes beyond the initial behavior. This principle demonstrates that consistency is not just linear. It can be exponential, affecting multiple domains simultaneously. Consistency also teaches resilience. By showing up repeatedly, even when progress is slow or obstacles arise, you train your brain and body to tolerate discomfort and uncertainty. Research in behavioral science indicates that consistent practice under challenging conditions strengthens grit, perseverance, and mental toughness. These traits are essential not only for achieving goals, but for navigating life's inevitable setbacks. The process of returning to consistent actions after disruption rewires the brain, strengthening executive function and reinforcing the belief that effort leads to results. Another motivational insight is that small wins create psychological momentum. The brain interprets repeated minor successes as evidence of capability, which increases confidence and reduces fear of failure. Celebrating small milestones, acknowledging incremental progress, and reflecting on achievements, no matter how minor, boost dopamine and reinforce neural circuits associated with motivation and reward. Over time, this builds a self-sustaining cycle. Consistent action generates wins, wins generate motivation, motivation reinforces consistency, and consistency creates results. Science shows that this feedback loop is a cornerstone of long-term achievement. Finally, the science of consistency teaches a profound life lesson. Discipline is freedom. By committing to consistent actions, you reduce chaos, eliminate indecision, and create predictable outcomes. Structure and routine informed by scientific understanding of human behavior. Free your mind from constantly negotiating choices and conserving willpower. When you master consistency, effort becomes less about force and more about flow. The hidden power of small, repeated actions transforms ordinary days into extraordinary lives, proving that greatness is not born. It is built one deliberate step at a time. Advanced strategies for mastering consistency involve mental modeling and deliberate planning. High achievers understand that consistency is not just about showing up. It's about showing up strategically. The brain responds not only to repetition, but to meaningful action. Each effort must have clarity of purpose. Break your long-term goals into measurable milestones and align daily actions with those milestones. Visualization techniques also enhance consistency. Neuroscience shows that imagining yourself completing a task repeatedly activates similar neural pathways as performing the task physically. When combined with actual practice, visualization strengthens the habit, reinforces identity, and primes the brain for action. Another essential element is strategic rest and recovery. Consistency is not about relentless effort. It's about sustainable effort. Science confirms that cognitive and physical performance improve when routines incorporate planned recovery periods. Sleep consolidates memory, strengthens neural pathways, and enhances self-regulation. Periodic rest allows habits to settle into the brain's architecture, creating resilience and reducing burnout. Those who understand the science of consistency know that skipping recovery does not accelerate results. It erodes them, Consistency is about persistence over time, not intensity in a moment. Motivation, identity, and systems converge when we apply self-monitoring and reflection. Regularly evaluating your actions, noticing progress, and adjusting strategies strengthens executive function and ensures continuous improvement. Journaling, habit tracking, or reflecting weekly on successes and challenges provides feedback loops that enhance awareness, reinforce discipline, and deepen commitment. The brain thrives on this structured self-observation, using it to refine behaviors, correct errors, and strengthen neural pathways associated with long-term habits. Reflection transforms consistency from rote repetition into intelligent adaptive action. Science also emphasizes the importance of reward systems and positive reinforcement. Dopamine is released not only through accomplishment, but also through anticipation and recognition. Celebrating micro-wins, acknowledging incremental improvements, and rewarding yourself for following through on consistent actions strengthens habit loops. This does not mean indulgence. It means leveraging the brain's natural reward mechanisms to create lasting behavioral patterns. When you design systems that honor effort, celebrate progress, and reinforce identity, consistency becomes not a burden, but a source of satisfaction. The motivational truth is this: consistency compounds in ways that talent, intensity, or motivation alone cannot. Small, deliberate, repeated actions, sometimes invisible, sometimes boring, accumulate into extraordinary results. The person who writes a few pages daily, meditates 10 minutes each morning, exercises regularly, or studies consistently will outperform the person who relies solely on bursts of passion or sporadic effort. Excellence is not the product of inspiration. It is the product of deliberate, persistent action over time. Science confirms this, and history demonstrates it. Consistency is also about embracing identity-based transformation. When your habits align with your desired self-image, each action reinforces who you are becoming. The person who identifies as disciplined, consistent, and reliable behaves in ways that reflect that identity even when motivation fades. Neuroscience shows that the brain solidifies these identity-consistent behaviors, making them more automatic and less vulnerable to lapses. In this way, consistency is not only a path to external achievement. It is a process of internal evolution. One of the most inspiring aspects of consistency is its democratic nature. You do not need to be exceptional to start. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need to wait for motivation to strike. Every person, regardless of talent or background, can harness the power of small, repeated actions. 1 minute, one task, one choice at a time. These are the building blocks of mastery. Consistency turns ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers because it leverages human neurobiology, psychology, and behavior science in a practical, actionable way. Finally, the science of consistency teaches a profound lesson about life itself. Extraordinary results are built on ordinary days. Greatness is not a sudden spark, but the accumulation of small, deliberate actions taken consistently. Discipline, focus, and patience are far more reliable than bursts of motivation. Each day, each action, each moment of follow-through strengthens your identity, rewires your brain, and compounds your results. The journey of consistency transforms not only what you achieve, but who you become. It is the quiet, patient, relentless force that turns intention into reality. Consistency is the bridge between desire and achievement, between potential and reality. Science reveals its mechanics, psychology explains its impact, and daily practice demonstrates its power. When you understand the brain, align with your identity, leverage micro-actions, track progress, design your environment, and reflect regularly, consistency becomes a force that cannot be stopped. Motivation is fleeting. Talent is limited. Systems, identity, and consistent action are infinite. By embracing the science of consistency, you reclaim control over your outcomes. You create momentum that compounds, resilience that sustains, and results that endure. Small steps taken daily are the quiet victories that ultimately transform your life. Remember this, you do not need extraordinary ability to achieve extraordinary results. You need consistent action, guided by purpose, reinforced by science, and strengthened by patience. Show up, repeat, reflect, adjust, persist. And over time, your life will become a testament to the power of consistency. Consistency is not just a habit, it is a strategy, it is a science, it is a lifestyle. And it is the truest pathway to achievement, fulfillment, and personal mastery. If you made it this far, drop 100 in the comments so I know you're part of the 1% who's serious about growth.